because he started my own career. Ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together, Mr. Brian Poole. Wow. Take a seat, mate. That one there? Okay. Right, ladies and gentlemen, our next artist, put your hands together for the godfather of soul. Ladies and gentlemen, it's Mr. Chris Farlowe. Wow. The voice. Oh dear. Ladies and gentlemen, our third and final person that I'll be bringing on is, you all know him, you've all seen him. The reason why I'm doing this is his 50th year, 50th, coming to Butlins in Skegness. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome on the stage Mr. Sixties, Carl Thompson. There he is. Look, 50 years at Skegness, ladies and gentlemen. What a shock. He's still walking. Right, ladies and gentlemen, now, what it is, question and answering. We'll just start having a chat. I'll ask the boys a few questions. Anybody that would like to ask their questions, put your hand up. We've got a young gentleman somewhere with a mic, and you can ask your question. Right, Brian? Yes, we've got somebody out there, Brian, somewhere. So, Brian, audience, Brian. Right, Brian, my first question. How did it all start? And who was your main man that started it?
Well, I like that. Yeah, it started way back. I'm 79 now, so it started 60 years ago or more.
Wow.
And met the Tremolows, we were all at school together. We decided we were going to be musicians. And all the teachers, as they used to in those days, said, well, you never make a living out of that. So we gave it a try, made a living for quite a few years, and now I've just finished touring. And with the Tremolows, or two of them that were left, and we just finished, or I finished last year. And now I've come back to a young man that used to be in my band, and they were called Electrics. And do you remember Electrics?
Yeah.
That was a really, really good band.
They were.
Still, I don't know, did any of you see our show last night?
Yes.
Great. I didn't think anyone would say anything. Okay, so you may have noticed the drummer. That was Gil, who was in Electrics. All those guys that were the pacemakers were also in that band, Electrics. And one of those gentlemen, one of the very first drummer in Electrics was a young man called Ray Martin.
Which is amazing. I remember, Brian, I just finished Bob Regis as a redcoat. I always remember it. And it was the very, very early 80s. And I answered an advertisement in the Nottingham Evening Post. Drummer needed. And that was the start of it. And thanks to Brian, I've been to Australia, New Zealand, Iceland. I've been all the way around the world. So
yeah, played at some big stadiums and all that.
Yeah, I mean, in Australia we played in front of like 25,000 people. And that was probably one of the biggest gigs I've ever done in my life. But I mean, you've got to understand, is travelling round the world with 5 blokes, and 4 of us were single. So it was an education, shall we say.
Yeah, it was good. There were a few good stories about that.
Yeah, there were.
Would you like me to tell any of those stories?
No. Oh, shut up. No. What happens on tour stays on tour. Right, Chris, when you started, I've got little notes here. I'm just going to let you boys take over. But you started in a skiffle band. Is that correct? When you first started in London?
No.
Right. Bloody Wikipedia.
My mum was a pianist.
Oh, right, okay.
And she used to play in the pubs and the bars during the war for the soldiers that came back, and And I used to sit beside her and she used to teach me Doris Day songs. And I used to sing Secret Love and Calamity Jane and all that sort of stuff. Frankie Lane stuff, Johnny Ray stuff. So I was learned at a very young age to be a singer, you know. Although my mum never realised that I could sing, that when she started playing the piano, I just sang along with her, you know. And people would say, "Is that your son?" And she said, "Yeah." He said, "Where's she got that voice from?" She said, "I don't know, just started singing."
So, how old would you have been then, would you say? What age?
About 5 years, 6 years old.
5 and 6. Wow.
Yeah.
Such an early age too. I mean, you have still got an absolutely incredible voice. And everybody says it. So, I mean, your voice, would you say it's got stronger through the years?
Yes, it has, yeah. I've never smoked a cigarette in my life, ever. So that must have helped. But I've got a very big lung section here, you know. I went and had a medical a little while ago and the doctor said to me, done various things to me and all that sort of thing. And he said, could you blow into the oxygen to test your, the ability of your lungs? And I just went, and he looked at the screen and he went, fucking hell, he said. I said, what do you do for a living? I said, I'm a singer. He said, bloody hell, he said, you've got a great pair of lungs there. I said, thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's all right.
I'm sorry about that. I'm from North London, so it's...
So, obviously, you and Brian were obviously both...
We're both North London
from
boys.
North London boys. So, obviously, you would have known a lot of characters which we were just talking about.
Yeah.
Like Mad Frankie Fraser and the Craze. Have you got any memories of the boys?
They were around when we were just sort of starting off. And they used to come and see you, didn't they? And go to clubs and stuff. And
we used to rehearse in a church in Bethnal Green Road, Church Hall. And opposite the church was a little cafe, which is still there today, called Police's. And it's a cafe with sort of dust on the floor, but they do a nice breakfast, you know. And you used to walk in there and the builders would be in there and everything. There'd be one section where they have a nice table with cloths on it, and it had a reserve tag on it, you know. And I would say, this is a normal cafe with sawdust on the floor, you've got a reserve table there. They said, yeah, it's for the Cray brothers, it's their table.
Yeah. Oh, wow.
So I thought, well, I'm not sitting there then. So
I mean, did they have that respect? I mean, like, you wouldn't have gone and sat on that table, is that how it was?
Yeah, definitely,
oh,
you wouldn't.
I saw some builders one day sit on it, and the Crays walked in, the owner, Neville, the guy who owned the bar, the cafe, said, would you please get off the table, please? And they were builders, and I said, why? What do we have to get off for? And he said, well, the Crays want to sit down, and they all went like, oh, sorry about that. So they all got up and walked out.
And that's just how it was?
Yes.
Yeah.
Now, did one of the Crays, Brian, one of his favourite songs, if I remember right, was Someone, Someone?
Yeah, that's right. Do you know, I've forgotten that. I'm sorry, that's that, well, early days, they came and saw us and they said they were going to manage us. They wanted to manage us. It didn't come about,
Thankfully, yeah.
Was that good? Yeah. And so later, though, we'd already done that song, Someone. We used to sing it on stage. We hadn't recorded it, but we used to sing it around at, the gigs and stuff. And later, when he was ill, he said he would like that song played at the funeral. And all that stuff, but I didn't make any big thing about it. You don't in those sort of situations, do you?
Things were so different then. I mean, I've only really watched the films, and obviously we've had chats through the years, and we sat in the dressing room for hours. Like, I know me and Chris share a passion in ourselves. History of the Second World War. Chris, we love all that, don't we? Yeah. And Chris also used to deal in the Second World War things, and didn't you have a famous hat?
Yeah, Herman Goring's hat.
Herman Goring's hat, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah. Chris had the original.
It was one that was captured by the Americans, and I was in America one day, and I was in a shop, and I was looking at some military stuff, and there was this hat box on the floor, and it had Herman Goring written on the top of the box. And I said, what's in that box? And he said, it was his hat, his military hat. So I took it out, and it was fantastic. I mean, it was all gold oak leaves, all running around, gold piping. And anyway, I bought it for $5 grand at the time. And I sold it for 10,000 when I got back.
Right. As you can see, ladies, I'm a shrewd businessman. Carl, 50 years coming to Butlins. You must have seen the boys, everybody knows you. You must have seen the boys in the past, 50 years. Has it gone in the blink of an eye?
You could say that. When I was 16, I was asked to come on holiday with the in-laws. And I said, no, I'm not coming. Although the daughter was very nice. Anyway, eventually they did tempt me to come here. So it was fantastic. The older style Butlins was great. The holiday was great. People, brilliant. And it went on. I've done it for years and years and years. And then I made a mistake of making a booking.
Did you?
I booked what they called, in them days, a weekend break. 4 days, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, back home Tuesday. But I didn't realise that it was non-stop music. And I thought, where's all these people come from? Who's all these people? And then obviously I got into music, and in Brighton, and one of the first bands I saw, a band called The Cufflinks, they was on as well, Vanity Fair, and I got to know Chris a bit later on, and over the years it's just got, well, I think I've been everywhere and seen everybody.
So 50 years. Now, when you first came, you had a little bit of a nickname, didn't you? Because, unbeknownst to everybody, you were quite a footballer.
Yes, I was.
Yeah, did you get trials for Oxford?
I did, and I won 3 holidays at Butlins, 3 as sporting super guest, 3 years running, and I was nicknamed Indian Joe.
Indian Joe?
Because I used to wear a headband. So I couldn't see, but I still can't see. But yeah, it was fun. It really was. I've been here the good times, the bad times, and fires. And
wasn't there a fire once?
Yeah, I was at Charlie's opposite. It was warm that weekend. One of the hottest weekends I've been.
So you would say 50 years have gone in the blink of an eye?
Absolutely ridiculous. I'm nearly 67 now, and it's just all disappeared and gone. But it's been fantastic, absolutely brilliant 50 years coming here.
Wow, well done. Brian, years ago, did the Trams do a summer season at Butlins once in here?
Yeah, I did a whole summer season. In fact, our first professional gig with the Tremolows was Butlins in Ayr, Scotland. And we learned, the redcoats in those days all used to wear quite short skirts and all that stuff, and they didn't wear trousers like they do now. But we used to sort of chase them about. We thought we were only about 17, 18, and they taught us quite a lot about show. I was going to say show business.
I thought he was going to say shagging.
Yeah, there was that.
It's not being filmed, please don't.
And the very first was Butlins, and we did that for 21 weeks.
Wow.
The BBC signed us up to do a show called Saturday Club because they came to here and saw our show there. We were only a rock and roll band, we were nothing, but we did like doing what we did. So, and we came out of school and said with O levels and A levels, and finished schooling properly, and so we were ready for it. We just wanted to do that, and that's all. I've got a story for it, very quick. You might have noticed Ray, and you see Ray playing drums quite a lot these days, even though he's one of the top promoters around now. He plays drums and still enjoys doing that. Have you noticed, though, how good his bass pedal is, his kick drum is?
I've never noticed that, no.
Never noticed? Well, it's good. It's really good, and he plays it like a good one. You have a listen this afternoon. Is it this afternoon?
This afternoon you jam with the band.
Yeah.
And we all know how that goes.
And have a listen, because Ray's playing in there and plays a great bass drum. Well, when he first joined our band, we were in New Zealand. He knows. We were in New Zealand, and one of our first sort of tours, and the guy who was doing the sound said, "I can't get the bass drum right. He's not playing it on the foot, you know, bomb, bomb, bomb. It's going bomb, da da, bomb, da, you know, around." So he said, "How can we get him to do that?" So he went out and bought him a big boot. You know,
it was a surgical boot.
Yeah, big boot, like that big. And said, "Ray, put this on your bass drum foot and play everything else normal and just play that like that." Boom.
Problem is now I keep walking like that, but
Yeah,
I chop it off.
of course. So that's just one little story.
Just stories and stories. I mean, Chris, 1966 was a special year, as we all know, but you actually played Wembley, is that right?
Yeah. Done that a couple of times, got an award for it as well. So
Yeah.
that was one with the Beatles as well, so that was good.
What, is that in the same year?
Yeah.
Oh wow, so not only did England win the World Cup, but you had a hit record and you worked with
Same week, yeah.
Same week.
Yeah.
I've got to ask you, I mean, I just want to ask a question and I'll get the audience to start asking a few questions. You go to bed, say on a Sunday night, both of you, right? And you wake up in the morning with a hit record. There's nobody else in this audience has ever done that. What does that feel like, Brian? No, not with the horn, no. With a hit record. I'm not doing this again.
It was, you try all your life to have a hit record. When we were ever so lucky, we'd already backed people like Chris. We never actually backed Chris, but lots of the blues people we actually did backing vocals for. We weren't a band that could go and sing those sort of songs, but they had us for the backing vocals on Decca. Made some of them. Jimmy Powell was one. Delbert McClinton was another one. Famous Americans. But we started in the studio backing other people, and when our record was suddenly a hit, we were in Liverpool doing some gigs around Liverpool, and we were in the station and we read the paper, and it says Tremolos knock Beatles off top spot, and that was 2 songs, nearly the same title. That was, they had She Loves You, that was #1, and we had a song called Do You Love Me? I can't remember. We had a song called Do You Love Me, which just went to the top. We ran around the station like you do, you know, just picking up all the papers we could buy and, you know, talked about it.
So that's how you found out. You actually found out by a paper.
Yeah,
and nobody rang you up. Well, they wouldn't. You have no mobile.
No, a couple of days later, we had a letter from a telegram. They were called in those days, from Decca, and it said, "This looks like the one. You've just sold something million." I can't remember what it was, but it sold over 1 million.
What about you, Chris? How did you know? You go to bed, you wake up, you've got a hit, bang.
I was living with my mum and dad at my own flat upstairs, and my mum came in my bedroom and said, "Get up." I said, "What?" She said, "There's a load of photographers downstairs knocking on the front door. They want you." And I said, "What for?" She said, "I don't know. Do you have to go down?" So I went down, got out, got my pyjamas on, went down there, opened the door, and there was all these photographers. And they said, "Could Mr. Farlowe, could we have a photograph of you?" I said, "Not in my pyjamas, you can't, no." And they said, "Why? He said, "You're #1 today." And I said, "Am I?" yes, you're number one. And we want, this is the Daily Mirror, we want photographs from the Daily Mirror for tomorrow morning, you know. And that's how I discovered our number one record.
So basically it was a knock on the door that discovered
yeah, knock
you
on
had
my mum's
number
door,
one.
yeah.
Wow. I mean, that's amazing because now, obviously, with all the social media and I mean, now it's downloads. You had to physically sell thousands of records to get into the charts, to get to number one. It's not like 3,000 downloads or 4,000 downloads you get into the charts. It's almost like tens of thousands of records, is that right?
You had to sell 1 million to get a gold record, didn't you?
I've got, out of time, I've got, in my house on the wall, I've got a disc for 500,000 copies of Out of Time.
Wow.
500,000. I think you can get into the charts now in this time with about 40,000 records.
So it's 500,000 in the 60s
Yeah.
and 40,000 now.
Yeah.
Wow. Ladies and gentlemen, give that a massive round of applause for yourself. Right, so what we'll do now is going to be very difficult, but if anybody would like to ask a question? Right. Have we got a microphone out there? Yeah. Fabulous. Put your hand up, mate, or I won't see you. Here he is. Stand up, mate. You're right. Stand up. It's not Boxing Day, is it? What a top. Hold on. What? Here he is. Here you are, mate. He's here, love. And who would you like to direct the question to, mate?
It's to both Chris and Brian.
Right.
Chris and Brian, I'm sure you've met many talented people over the years, but can I ask you if there was one individual that stuck out as a person?
Yeah? Shall I answer that one? I was playing at the Flamingo Club in London, which was like the R&B club of the world at the time. 65. And we, on the weekend, all the black Air Forcemen and American Air Forcemen used to come into London just to listen to some good music. So they would all be down there sitting in the cinema seats watching the band, you know. And my manager came in after we did about an hour and a half session. My manager came in and said, "Did you see the black guys sitting in the front seat listening to you?" I said, "They're all black guys sitting in front of the seat." He said, "No, it was Otis Redding." And I said, no, that silly Otis Redding. What's he doing down here? Anyway, so I went back in the dressing room, sat down, and the door opened, and Otis Redding walked in. And he walked up to me and he said, "Man," he says, "you're a great singer." And I looked up and thought, am I dreaming this or is it? Someone pinched me or something, because I don't believe it. And he just said, "I'm doing a Ready Steady Go special on Friday, and I'd like you to come along and be my guest. Would you want to do that?" And I said, "Absolutely." So that was the most important change in my life, was singing with Otis on Ready Steady Go, you know.
That's fantastic. Right? Round of applause, come on. Otis, right?
Right. Well, mine was, it's sort of kind of one of those things that happens once in a million years. We were just playing around the area, and then Buddy Holly and the Crickets came, and they came to a place called the East Ham Granada, because they used to do they were in the pictures, cinemas, they were all the stages they used for tours. Buddy Holly and the Crickets came to the East Ham Granada, and our local paper said to us, "Would you like to go and see the show?" We went to see the show, and they actually asked us to go up backstage, and we'd like to talk to the band. And this was just before the show, and we went up and we spoke. Well, in actual fact, we didn't talk at all. We were so dumbfounded. We just let they talk to us, and then we went out and realised we'd just spoken to Buddy Holly and the Crickets.
Wow.
Later, one of those blokes that we met was Norman Petty, their manager, who wrote a lot of the songs. He came and played keyboards on Someone, one of our records. And That's my Buddy Holly sort of connection.
So Buddy Holly and Otis Redding. Round of applause, ladies and gentlemen. Right, have you another question? Someone want to put their hands up? Right. You like to stand up? Mr. Mike Man, would we go to the right hand side? Put your hand up, mate, so we can see you. There you go. It's all very interesting, this, isn't it?
Very interesting.
It's very interesting, this. Something that you would never get. Right, sir.
Thank you. As a fellow North Londoner, for you two chaps, but really directed at Mr. Farlowe, I was lucky enough in 1966 to venture all the way from North London out to West London to see Top of the Pops, and you featured on that, I believe. Yes?
Yes.
Yes. Now, from that, having lived in Canterbury, my next, of course, followed your career closely. Next point of contact was your shop in Canterbury Lane.
Yeah.
And I'm just wondering, the question is, have you still got the shop?
No. That's long gone, I'm afraid. But I still sort of, I like 50s. I'm a 50s freak. You know, I like 50s furniture and especially from America, which is the best stuff. You know, which I've got in my house. You know.
Yeah.
But no, I was a carpenter and joiner. I trained as a joiner for 7 years of my life, so I could make furniture as well. But I was always interested in fine quality furniture. And so when I got some money behind me, I opened up the shop and sold good quality stuff to the general public, which was very good.
The audience might be interested to know the name of the shop was Out of Time.
Yes, well, out of time. I'll tell you a funny story about Out of Time. One of my customers is a lady called Sade. You remember Sade?
Oh, yeah.
Great singer. Well, I opened up the shop one day and I was just messing around in the office, and the door opened, the doorbell rang, and Sade walked in. Now, she never knew who I was, but she saw we had a lovely horse, a wooden horse in the window. And she come up to me and she said, I'm very interested in that wooden horse in the window for my son's Christmas present. And I said, yeah, that'd be great. So I said, I'll pull it out for you. We had a look, and I went back to the office and started standing there listening to what she was looking at the stuff. And all of a sudden the door opened and a guy just put his head in the door and he said, Oi, you're a fucking great singer, you are. And I said, thank you very much. And Sade, she thought it was her he was talking to. So she looked around and he's going to me, bloody great records you make, mate, great, keep it up. And she sort of looked at me and said, it's a long story. I said, but my name is Chris Farlowe. And then she said, now I know why the shop is called Out of Time. And she's still a customer of mine today.
Great question. Chris, we had a chat, and you was obviously dealing in the Second World War stuff as you did. You told me a little story about when somebody came in and there was a dud grenade, and there was a dud one, and they pulled the pin.
It was a practice grenade.
Practice grenade, yeah.
Mills bomb. We just found it in some stuff that had walked in the door, and I had it on the table, but it still had a detonator inside it, but no explosives. So I had it on the side. I was showing it to a couple of friends of mine, and this guy walked in completely, and he walked up and he picked up the grenade in his hand, and I said, be careful please. Okay. Then he looked at me, and I'm talking to somebody, and I noticed he put his finger in the pin ring, pulled the pin, let the lever go, and I saw this acid go out the top of it, smoke, and I thought, oh, for fuck's sake. So I laid on the floor with my fingers in my... and it went, boom! And he left it on top of the glass cabinet. All the glass in the shop was absolutely all smashed to pieces. And all the badges that were in there were enamelled, all the enamel was gone and everything. But I had a ringing in my ears for about a month afterwards, just a high-pitched ring. But that idiot
That's
pulled that bloody lever.
That's a great story. Right, so we've got another question. You'll have to shout up because I can't see. Right, you sir, stand up, Mr. Mike Man. 1 second, mate. You've not just come off a trawler, have you? Bloody hell, sorry. Well,
We have one in the centre first.
you should come with Jan with a band, I'd sort him out. Right, where's the, here he is. Oh, that's alright, mate, you can borrow mine if you want. That's alright, I don't mind. I'm wiping it afterwards. Alright.
It's to both of you, really. In many ways, the Beatles wrote the soundtrack to the 60s. I just wanted to know, in your expert opinion, what was so special about the Beatles?
That's a pretty easy one for me. Yeah, the Beatles were probably, I would say, the best band we've ever seen come out of this country. I have no idea. And it was one of those things. They were when they did their recording audition with Decca, we were doing one the same week, and they didn't play the songs that they were writing at the time. One of them was Love Me Do, and they didn't play it. They're recording their tape to this day. They played all kinds of other stuff, and they didn't play anything that they were writing. In those days, though, it wasn't writers like it is now that you know are famous and everything. It was the actual singers. We sung their songs, and that's what the Beatles were doing at that time. All they had to do was write a couple of songs, and they were then the world's best band ever. To this day, the best band. But they didn't write, by the way, Twist and Shout. They didn't write that, like many people think they did.
So we wrote that one, Brian, sorry?
That was written by a young band in America called the Isley Brothers. And the first record wasn't called Twist and Shout. It was called Shake It Up Baby. And it was by the Isley Brothers. And that's what we were listening to. Beatles did it, and we did it, totally different. But everyone said the Beatles wrote it, which they didn't in those days. They wrote a lot of great songs, of course, you know.
So obviously, would you say they're probably the best band, and that they started it all off, and they were the best band from that era, or any era, by far?
By far, I think only one band for me comes even close to, well, two. The Doobie Brothers, and with Michael McDonald, and the Eagles. Well, not the Eagles, just Eagles. Yeah, Eagles. Yeah.
Chris?
I understand how great the Beatles were writing music and their sound, but for me, it wasn't my type of music. I was a singer of R&B songs, Otis Redding, Clyde McPhatter, Sam Cooke, that sort of period. That's what I wanted to be, a blues or an R&B singer. So I used to buy all the blues and the R&B stuff that was coming out, you know, plus a lot of stuff that was obscure that friends sent for me from America. But I understand how great the Beatles are for putting music on the map around the world, you know. But for me, I was not a big fan of the Beatles. I know that they've written great songs, and I've recorded some of their songs as well, but only a couple. But for me, the greatest band at that time was my band, Chris Farlowe and the Funny Boys.
What a shot! What a shot! Just bring a little bit more up to date, Chris, and I'm sure you won't mind me telling the audience that Chris doesn't drive, because obviously he lives in London, and if you've got any sense at all, you just don't drive, okay? Now, Chris did a little small gig with a young fellow, and I hope you don't mind me telling you this. He come out of his house, he got on the number 16 bus, was it? Van Morrison. Number 10 bus, got on the bus, got outside, where was it?
Royal Albert Hall.
Royal Albert Hall, and walked straight into, and you was with?
Van Morrison.
Van Morrison. Tell us about the gig, Chris.
Well, I'm working with Van Morrison a lot now. I'm doing 6 nights at the London Play with him in March the 20th to 26th, which is fantastic. Sold out, I believe, every night. So, but I've known Van since he was a little young 15-year-old boy. And he used to come to the Queen's University in Belfast to watch my band, the Thunderbirds. And he used to come up and say, "Oh, you've got a great band there. I think they're pretty lovely." And I want to become a singer. I said, "Oh, do you?" He said, "Oh, yeah." I said, "Well, all the best to you." So, without saying, he's become one of the greatest singers, and especially songwriters in the world. I mean, the stuff that he has written is fantastic, you know. Them, of course, them, yeah. I knew them before they were them. And, yeah, just meeting him, you know, and I'm still working with him now after all these years, you know, which is lovely.
Well, I mean, he's an icon of music, as you know, and a great songwriter.
Yeah.
So, I bet you two in the dressing room are hard to shut up, aren't you? Huh? Yeah.
We can chat.
I bet you can chat. Right, let's have another question.
Down the centre, please, Ray. Hello? Down the centre.
Down the centre, thank you. Right.
Yeah, can I just ask Chris Farlowe, I know Mick Jagger had a hand in writing the song Out of Time.
Sorry, can you just put the mic a little bit closer so we can hear you, old mate?
Yeah, I believe Mick Jagger had a hand in writing the song Out of Time.
Yes.
Am I right in thinking that he sang backup vocals on the record?
Yes, he's doing the backup vocals with Keith Richards on the. I did a couple of albums as well with them, the art of Chris Farlowe and 14 Things to Think About, and they did most of the backing vocals. I was doing a session one day for the show, and I was in the recording studio looking at the control room, and I noticed that Mick and his boys were standing out, and all of a sudden the door opened, and Ike and Tina Turner walked in with the Ikettes, and they were big kissing each other and all that, you know, lovely. So Tina Turner says to Mick, "What are you doing?" He said, "We're doing Chris Farlowe's new album." So she said, "Can we stay and listen to the songs?" And he said, "Yeah." So started up and I started singing. And all of a sudden Tina Turner turned around and said, "We'd like to go out and do all the backing vocals for Chris's record." So they all came out to the studio, and on the Art of Chris Farlowe album, all the backing vocals is Tina Turner and the Ikettes. For nothing. Never charged me a penny.
Wow. How interesting. Well, we've got time for a couple of more questions, ladies and gentlemen. Would you like to stand up, sir? I'll come to you next, sweetie. Right, have you got a mic there, mate? Or do you want to come forward? You can use mine. I've got one here.
Right at the back, Ray.
Right at the back.
This is a request for Chris. I've seen him so many times, Chris, and you don't sing enough of the old, like, soul sounds for me, but when I come to see you again, especially if you come here, I'll be here. Will you sing me Headlines? I've asked so many times. Singing live. Headlines.
What, Headlines?
Yeah, you know the song.
I know it, yeah. I don't do it anymore though.
You'll do it once more when you perform on Butlins next time, yeah?
I thought you said headlights.
I'll tell you that.
No, I'm all right with that. No, I know. Headlines is another Rolling Stones song written for me, but I've got so many bloody songs in my repertoire, you know, thousands of them, and it's always difficult to get the band to rehearse at least 5 anyway, let alone 1,000 of them, you know, so that's the reason we don't really do it anymore.
You can't do them all, Chris.
Eh?
You can't do them all.
No, you can't, no.
Brian, coming up to date a little bit now, I know that music runs in the family. Yeah, Karen and Shell have kind of made their own business now, haven't they?
My two daughters have been very lucky over the years. They've written over the years for people like Westlife, Boyzone, quite a few American people they've had. Probably we talk about our number ones. We've had number one. My Karen has had 6 number one records.
Did she write one for Kylie as well?
Kylie Minogue, all the bands, the latest sort of bands they're writing for now. So they've been very lucky with their career, and they are good writers. And they started off as a band called Alicia's Attic.
Oh.
That was them two, and they were, they were quite a good band. We didn't know they wrote all their own stuff even in those days, and we didn't realise what they were going on to. They both now write all the time for some of the top artists in the world, Shania Twain and Americans,
I mean, I watched them grow up, right? I mean, there was like 13 and 14, and there were young ladies, and they were incredible people. They were always so lovely to us and the lads, But obviously, we never got to work with them properly. But we did do, if you remember, the video for the Travelling Wrinklies. Remember that?
Oh, yeah.
You remember that?
We did a song. We did a song with, you can see, Tony Crane was on last night, of course. But Tony Crane was in the band, Mike Pender from the Searchers, me from Tremolo's, we had Reg Presley from Trogs, and Clem Curtis, both no longer with us, but it was a band that we put together. We called it The Corporation, and we did a really great video. Look it up, it's a good video.
It's great.
Actually. And Ray played drums on it.
I had hair extensions, why? I don't know. But I thought it was some kind of pop star. But we was there all day, can you remember? We got there at like 8 in the morning, was there at like 10 at night. It was a long old day, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. It was a long day doing the video, and turned out okay. It's on YouTube all the time, so it's called Ain't Nothing But a House Party.
Oh yeah, I've seen that.
Actually, funny enough, I opened up with that last night, that song.
You did, yeah.
We change our songs around every so often, the band and me, just so we don't sort of, I only do sort of 1 gig a month, maybe 2 a month these days, because I spent 8 years touring with the 2 tremolos that were still left, Chip Hawkes and Dave Munden, and we did quite a few tours, you may have seen them, with other people as well. And I decided to call it a day for touring last year, and just doing one here and there. And thank goodness it's one. I was talking to somebody over the back there. Thank goodness it's gigs like this. Because last night I had one of my best gigs ever, and I've played the world, honestly. And that was one of my best gigs ever. I'm totally.
Round of applause, ladies and gentlemen. Right, folks. Have you enjoyed it?
Hello. Hi, Rick. One more question.
Oh, one more question.
I had the privilege of playing a support band to Brian Poole and the Electrics at Bracklesham Bay. And you all played drums at one set. You all got kits and tom-toms out, and you all played drums.
That's right, I remember that.
But my question is for Brian. Why, at the top of after the first #1 hit, top of your career, why did you go back to being a butcher?
I didn't. Oh, that's the easy answer. I didn't. There's that my family had a shop at the time. I went and helped my brother who had illness at the time. Went and helped him for a while, and of course people, people thought that I was there all the time. I was there for about a year, of course, and I helped the family out. Were in that shop, which was it really put me down to earth. That's where you really get a grounding, and that was really good for me, and it gives me a little pension now as well, because there's 14 of those shops now, but not anything to do with me, but family shops. Yeah.
Right, ladies and gentlemen, massive round of applause. Come on. I hope you found out a few things that you didn't know. Right, ladies and gentlemen, one more time, Mr. Brian Poole, Mr. Chris Farlowe, Mr. Sixties, Carl Thompson. It's been an absolute fabulous pleasure, ladies and gentlemen. It is now taking a break. We will see you a little bit later on. Don't forget, we've got Jam with the band if you dare. I'll leave it with you. Ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. You've been fabulous. I've been Ray Martin. Over to Atkins. Thank you.
Before you know, one